Go ahead. Oof. What's with cutting off people's heads? Mackenzie, can you go left more? What's with cutting off people's heads? That man had a whole body with him just a moment before. In history, though, who knows this part? In history, with the cutting off the heads, the French Revolution, samurais. What? Stop. North Korea, under their leader Kim Il-sung, suddenly and brutally invaded South Korea and nearly took the entire peninsula. Very, very quickly. Go ahead. 16 United Nations member nations under U.S. leadership agreed to help South Korea, and the USSR sent help but no troops. And that's the Korean War. Go ahead. 38th parallel. UN troops pushed North Korean troops back across 38th parallel, the border between the two countries, and continued north. Go ahead. Wait, no, watch. Go ahead. No, I'm just going to do it. Why did I do it? 50. Almost all of it's red. And then look at 50. It's almost all green. Those 53,000 almost all died in 1950. Isn't that crazy? 1950. Almost all red. That's MacArthur. And he wants to bomb all of those places. Unbelievable. It became a stalemate after just a year. A Chinese assault drove UN troops back to 38th parallel. The ceasefire in 53 created a demilitarized zone. It's called the DMZ, dividing the countries. That's a great EBD. Who knows it's called the DMZ still? Demilitarized zone. Who went across it last? What American went across it last? Donald Trump. Donald Trump was BFFs with Kim Jong-un. He said that they loved each other. They wrote love letters, he said. He literally says that they wrote love letters. Weird. Anyway, Donald Trump was the last one to go across the DMZ, I think the only American president to step across the demilitarized zone. It's crazy. That's it. That's the demilitarized zone. And then these buildings, half of it's on North Korean soil and half of it's on South Korean soil. And so people go in those rooms, and some people sit on that half of a table and the other on this half of a table. And the table's long enough as a whole room, and you can't go on the other side of the table because then you're going into the other country and they might shoot you. The guards might shoot you. Go ahead. Oh, did I say that? As no peace treaty was ever signed to end Korean War, tensions between the two countries and in the DMZ remain high. That's not true. A peace treaty was signed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump signed a peace treaty in 2017, 18, 19, I don't know. In 53, Joseph Stalin died. Put it down. Stalin dies in 53. And was replaced by Nikita Khrushchev, who adopted a policy of de-Stalinization and promised peaceful coexistence with the West. You have to know Khrushchev. Put his name down, Khrushchev. He's famous for de-Stalinization. He's the ruler right after Stalin, and he has de-Stalinization. Remember, Mao and Stalin are probably responsible for 50 million deaths in their own country. Go ahead. Okay? Khrushchev's relaxed policy sparked rebellions against Soviet domination and communism in Eastern Europe. People were trying to get free. Hungarians, everybody's like, from the youngest child to the oldest man, no one wants communism. We have had enough of it forever. We shall never be slaves again. Hungary tries to get free. Other places try to get free. Other places try to get free in the satellite states. But they get what? Smashed by the Soviet Union. Go ahead. In 56, riots in Poland led. So you got it. Hungary, Poland. They led to more autonomy from the USSR and an end to farm collectives. We want bread and freedom. Go back. I want to see. There you go. Hungarian flag with communist coat of arms cut out. The symbol of the revolution. Hungarian prime minister. Hungary announced free elections and left the Warsaw Pact. Khrushchev sending the Red Army to crush him. Khrushchev tried to be relaxed, have de-Stalinization, so other people tried to create democracies, and so they tried to crush them. And guess what all of the young, they're always young people, remember? Guess what all the young people said on the radio stations? Hello, West. Hello to the West. You said you'd help us. Where are you? Eisenhower. Where are you? You said you'd help us. The Truman Doctrine, what? Contain communism or help people become democracies, and we left them out, hung them out to dry. See? Hungary's calling. Hungary's calling. The last free station. Help us. Save our souls. We left them hanging. We didn't go help. President Dwight David Eisenhower invited Khrushchev to U.S. for talks. The USSR offered disarmament as the Cold War thawed. So Khrushchev came to the United States. Go ahead. And then famously, there was a U-2 spy incident that ended talks. A U.S. spy plane was shot down over the USSR, and the pilot was captured. Khrushchev didn't say the pilot was captured. So we tried to lie and say that it wasn't a spy plane. And then later they put on TV what? Here's the spy. We know that it was a spy plane because we have your spy. Go ahead. So it's called the U-2 spy incident, but it ended this peaceful coexistence that we had. Go ahead. There he is. The U-2 incident marked the beginning of the most tense period in Cold War history. After the U-2 spy plane was shot down and we lied about it, then it becomes the most tenuous, difficult part. 61, JFK authorized a CIA planned invasion of Cuba by Cuban exiles. So, wait, let me just talk about Cuba. Go back. Okay, so in 1899, what is it, Renee? I don't know, the Spanish-American War, 1898 or 1899. The Spanish, can you touch Cuba, please? It's an island right underneath Florida. Yep, Cuba. Right there's Cuba. Spain are still the colonizing power of Cuba. Do you hear me? Can you touch Spain? And Cuba? And Spain? And Cuba? And Spain? And Cuba? We fight the Spanish. Can you touch America and then Cuba? America and then Cuba? Who knows that's an easy war to win? In 1900, we're the most powerful nation on earth. And then we're helping them to get rid of their Spanish overlords. No problem. It's called a splendid little war. You can put that down if you want. It's called a splendid little war. It's the Spanish-American War in 1899. When that happens, we take Guam, Philippines, Puppet Cuba, and Puerto Rico. You guys remember this? Spanish-American War. Then the Bautistas take power. Fulgencia Bautista takes power. They are puppets of the United States of America. Who hears me? They became a playground of the rich and famous. 1 to 2% of the people in Cuba, look at me, owned all of the land in Cuba. They owned all of the land. So why does Fidel Castro take over? Because 98% of the population are what? Poor peasants that work for the 1 or 2%. And how does USA feel about this? We don't care that 2% own all of the country. It became the playground for the rich and famous. So Fidel Castro is an independence hero. He wants self-determination. Who does he want to leave? The United States of America. He tells the United States of America to leave. We don't leave. So he has a war. He throws out the Batista government, and all the rich people flee to Miami. They all flee to Miami. They flee to Miami. The rich people. They are the Cuban exiles that try to come back and take over Cuba. Guess what messed it up? The USA was supposed to help. The CIA, we sent our planes an hour late because of the time change. We forgot about a time change. So all of these Cuban rebels went there, and then we were supposed to help with air support, and our air support came an hour late because we forgot to factor in an hour time change. And so they were all captured and taken prisoner or killed. Those are the Cuban exiles. This is called the Bay of Pigs invasion. It's called because of Cochina Bay, the Bahia de Cochinas, which means Bay of Pigs. That's where they were invading. It's called the Bay of Pigs, the Bahia de Cochinas, which is the Bay of Pigs. And it was a failed invasion, and it showed that we were a part of it, and we looked stupid and stupid and stupid. So Castro asks the Soviet Union for help. Do you hear me? After we tried to invade Cuba, Castro asks Khrushchev for help. So Khrushchev sent missiles to Cuba as a result of us and the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. Everybody understand? When we found out that they had nuclear missiles, atomic missiles in Cuba, what did we do? Oh, hell no. So it's called the 13 Days of October. And in October of 1962, I'm like 2 months old. In October of 1962, the world was closer to nuclear annihilation than any moment before or since, supposedly. Supposedly. That's called the Cuban Missile Crisis. Khrushchev and Kennedy have a standoff. Kennedy draws a quarantine line in the ocean and tells them to get their missiles out, but Soviet ships are supposedly taking more stuff to Cuba, and so he has a quarantine line drawn in that, and if they go across it, we're back in a world war, possibly a nuclear war. And the Cuban ships, or the Soviet ships, get closer, 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 and then turn around, and it was over. And after that, the agreement was they will take their missiles out of Cuba, and we will take our missiles out of Italy and Turkey that are shooting at, facing the Soviet Union. That's called the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, the 13 days in October. Everybody got it?
Didn't we supposedly lose missiles?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've definitely lost missiles. There's, I don't know how many. There's more than we can even count now. And then, do you know about the nuclear submarine? Somebody know about the nuclear submarine? That the submarine, we dropped like some sort of bomb to try to scare a submarine to tell them to back up, but they thought we were trying to bomb them instead. And so 3 people on the sub all have to say, yes, we're being attacked, shoot the nuclear submarine, shoot the atomic missile at the United States of America. 3 people have to agree. 2 of them did. And the lowest ranking one said, no, I don't think we're under attack. Because there's no phones or anything like that on nuclear subs at that time. And he said, no, I don't think we're under attack. And he literally saved the world from nuclear annihilation because he said, no, I don't think we should deploy that missile. And all 3 had to agree, and one of them did not. The most junior officer amongst the Soviets did not, and so they didn't shoot the nuclear weapon, and indeed, they were not under attack, and so he might have saved the world from a nuclear war. Because what if they had shot the nuclear weapon? What would we have done? We would have responded, mutual assured destruction. Okay, so go ahead. So that's Cuban Missile Crisis. The U.S. hoped to overthrow Fidel Castro, the communist dictator who came to power. He's an independence hero. Che Guevara helped him. He's trying to get the 98% to have land taken away from the 2%. Go ahead. Bay of Pigs, I just explained it to you. JFK sent no air support to help rebels. He did send air support, but it was an hour late. Go ahead. It's called Guantanamo Bay. This failed attempt on Castro's regime and life further cemented Cuba's ties to the USSR. In 1963, Fidel Castro is assassinated. Castro, we even sent an exploding cigar to try to blow up Castro, and it didn't work. During JFK's administration, many, many times we tried to assassinate Fidel Castro. Some people believe that the Cuban mafia actually accomplished the assassination of JFK, that he was assassinated by the Cuban mafia. How many people know there's lots and lots of conspiracy theories about JFK's assassination? Some of them say that it was LBJ, the vice president, that wanted him to be dead. So many conspiracy theories about it. So a spy plane spotted missile installations in Cuba. So with Soviet nukes, go ahead. I explained all of this. Khrushchev authorized the placement of Soviet nukes in Cuba, just 90 miles off the coast, controlled by communist Fidel Castro. Go ahead. Huge discussion, 13 days, 13 nerve-wracking days on the brink of nuclear war. Go ahead. That's the quarantine line that the ships cannot pass, the blockade of navigation in international waters and airspace constituted an act of aggression, propelling mankind into the abyss of a world nuclear missile war. Go ahead. The ships, U.S. blockade of Cuba, Khrushchev agreed to pull missiles out of Cuba when they turned around from the quarantine line. The U.S. vowed never to invade Cuba again and agreed to remove nukes in Turkey and in Italy. Go ahead. A direct hotline was established between Moscow and Washington, D.C. in case of future crises. It's called the Red Phone. Ever since that time, there's been a red phone that is a hotline. It is literally, you pick up the phone and what? With? They're calling Soviet Union. They're calling Soviet Union. There's a phone that's literally direct connection. Somebody there, if the phone rings, will answer and be like, contact President, the United States is called on the red phone, the hotline. Go ahead. Khrushchev was replaced by... now that's a looker. Isn't that funny? That's Brezhnev. Was replaced by Brezhnev promising Stalinization, and that the USSR could intervene in any communist countries. Look at the eyebrows. He's famous for these huge eyebrows. And then this famous bathing suit picture. What are you doing, brother? Guess where they, no, go back. Guess where they vacation? The Crimea. Can you touch Crimea, please? In the Black Sea. It's above Turkey. Do you remember the Crimea, the little Kahone hanging in the Black Sea? That's where people vacation. Go ahead. So, Czechoslovakia's communist leader, Dubček, initiated reforms, hoping to create socialism with a human face. So Czechoslovakia is trying to get out from under this oppressive control of the Soviet Union. Go ahead. And then Brezhnev ordered the Red Army to invade Czechoslovakia, and the reform movement known as Prague Spring was crushed. It's called Prague Spring. They tried to get free of communism. The U.S. tried to contain communism in the Vietnam War, proxy war, assuming if it spread anywhere, it could spread everywhere. Domino theory. North Vietnamese defeated French in battle. Remember that the Indochina War happened. From 46 to 54, the Indochina War happened. So ready, let's do France. 1887, France colonizes Indochina.